NFL Week 13 is here, and that must explain all the problems that I'm going through and the misfortune I'm dealing with this morning. 5 minutes late. We're sorry about that. We're lucky we're here at all, frankly. I'm here with Ron. We are here early, one day early on Tuesday, and I couldn't possibly be farther behind than I am now. Ron, good to see you again. How are you situated?
Well, we went through an hour of physical therapy trying to get that arm range of motion going again after surgery in September. So, but I said, do a little extra for physical therapy. I've got a couple of shows today. I need to be ready to go for the shows. So we got in a lot of work on physical therapy, not as much work on the NFL right now. So we'll brainstorm as we go through, I'm sure, looking back at last week and setting the stage a little bit for this week. You know, we're wrapping up college this week, and because I do everything by hand and I do everything as far as originating everything, plus there's Thanksgiving, we got a lot on our plate this week.
Yeah, it's not pleasant, and trying to fit normal everyday life in would be a luxury that I don't even have. It's the importance of stuff I have on the back burner that I have to get to immediately afterward is extremely high. So,
question for you, Cris, before we start: are you all systems go on YouTube and X?
I think so.
Okay. We had a trouble before.
Yeah, this StreamYard redid some stuff and made it confusing. It says there's green check marks. So, okay. And I'm not. I had my my yearly imaging scans this morning where they stick you and fill you with some substance that makes you feel like you peed your pants and gives you all this flushy feeling through your face and chest and stuff. And they told me I have to drink extra water for the next 2 days while the stuff leaks out of my system. But that was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Testing is a lot of fun.
Okay, let's see. Let's look back at last week like we normally do. I do want to say one thing. I want to get it off my plate just so I don't forget it, because I've had a bunch of people reaching out on contest stuff. Mm-hmm. I got knocked out of the VEASAN Invitational because the Chargers or the Carolina didn't cover. That was disappointing. But I've had people reaching out for advice and this, that, and the other, and you know, it's week 13. If you're thinking about the money, you're thinking about playing defense. If you're in a good position, think again. It's way too early. It's, you know, if you're doing well, just keep your process and don't even think about the money. I had somebody reach out to me this morning on their millions entry, and they had done something defensive, trying to protect the fact that they're in the top 50. And it kind of backfired on him. And the advantage that you have if you're placed well in contest is that a lot of other people will have that thought process, and it'll blow up in their face and they won't advance. You have to play to win. Just worry about your picks and trying to get points, and that's all you got to worry about. Don't think about the money. Your money's gone. You put it away as an entry fee. It's way too far away to be thinking about monetizing. Last year at this time, 3 weeks later than this, week 16, I was cashing 5 tickets for $418,000. I ended up with nothing. So I crapped out of all those positions. To be thinking about the money at this point is not smart. When you get to be week 16, 17, that's when you start thinking about it a little bit, if at all. But just worry about what you're doing on your entry and getting winners, and hope that everybody else is having that viewpoint of trying to protect position and stuff like that, because you should be able to pass them by. So
yeah, and the only game plan I would add is that you should look ahead in terms of what teams are left and have a strategy that way. Maybe you don't have as much of a strategy the first few weeks, but you're at the point in the season where, like you said, Chris, you need to worry about yourself, but you need to worry about what your game plan is. What's going to be left in week 15, 16, 17, or whatever for Survivor. What's going on with season wins. You don't have to wait. I mean, you could wait till the last 2 weeks. You should wait till the last 2 weeks. But for Survivor, you have to have a game plan moving forward. And for the regular pick contest, I just think like you said, you do what you're doing.
One of the silliest things I've seen in a long time was a reference made that worrying about other people and what they have available to them is a waste of time. Or worrying about how other people play their cards, if it's a pick'em contest, is a waste of time. And that's like some of the worst advice I could possibly imagine. 100% you are monitoring what other people would have in Survivor. It changes the value mathematically of what your entry is worth based on what other people have available to them versus what you have available. So it's indisputable that, of course, what other people have available to them matters. It's simple math, okay? And the same thing goes for monitoring, pick 5 contests and stuff like that. If you were really at the top or near the top, damn right you're evaluating how the other people play their cards. You'd be an idiot not to. So everything that you read is not necessarily true as far as how people want to offer advice and insight.
One deviation, Toma posted a bonus college football question, asked about playing teams outside the top 20, assessing motivation and so on. Yes, I'm more than willing to play teams outside the top 20 because there's not as much margin for the high profile games. The odds makers know everything. You're not going to have an edge in those games necessarily. When you see a 5-6 team and they need another win to get to 6-6, it could be a blessing or a curse. If they're a 5-6 team that's used to playing in higher profile bowl games, you can fade those teams. If you're looking at a 5-6 team that hasn't been to a bowl for 5 or 6 years or 7 years or whatever, playing for a new coach, they want to have those extra practices and so on, then it might be a blessing to go on them. So there's a lot of different situations that come up the last week of the season. And I'm more than willing to play games that are outside of the top 20 or 30.
Yeah, and we'll address the Lions issues when we get to the Green Bay matchup. There's lots to discuss, to digest there. Last week, we Buffalo and Houston, we both agreed, we talked about it, that the line was way off on that game, and it did end up coming down. It didn't come down enough. It didn't surprise. I had Houston winning that game. I didn't surprise me in the least that they won that game. With their defense able to disrupt other quarterbacks and make life hard on them. Josh Allen only has so many tools. He can only do so much himself. So they were in a really tough spot, and that Houston win was not as big of a surprise to you or I don't think, Ron.
No, not at all. We might discuss line moves a little bit later in the show, but had this line come down, let's say from 6 down to 4 or something, this would have been a correction because that line was just wrong. You had Houston, I think we both agreed, if not the top defense, one of the top 3 defenses without a doubt. They had, and I chart sacks. I mean, everybody knows that I chart sacks. Line of scrimmage is very important to me in my matchup analysis. So Houston won the sack battle 8-0. That means Josh Allen had no time to throw, and they had to alter their game plan. No surprise that Houston won this game.
I'm just checking for an update. I still have Houston the number one defense this week.
Yeah, I don't think there would be any surprise that they would be either number one or number two.
Trying to think of anything else from that game. Not thinking about it. Remember, I started off the show wanting to discuss, the value of Houston, and I went in thinking Houston, as the number one defense, certainly should have a shot at the playoffs. And
that's right.
We spent time, and I was like, God, I just, and I said, I think that they've got 5 wins in them, and you laughed at me so hard that I literally
laughed at you. No,
you're like, oh, this would be
no. I mean, certainly they had the number was 7.5 juiced, I think, and we all thought they'd have at least 8. Yeah, you're joking with me, but because I'm a fan of Houston, they dug themselves a little bit of a hole, but maybe they can get out of it. Indy is not invincible. Indy's not in my top 5 power ratings right now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, there's a lot, that division is awfully interesting all of a sudden because, one of the stats that I have for Jacksonville, they were -4 in the turnover differential this week again, right?
Yeah, we could talk about Jacksonville down the road.
So I'll just quickly mention it since we're on that division is they are 3-8 since 2010, I think it is, when they are -4 turnover differential in a game. There are only 5 other teams that have been able to win a game under those circumstances. Yeah. And the rest of the teams are 0-201. So the fact that they've done it 3 times somehow is beyond ridiculous and unusual.
Well, we could talk about them. They're not what their record indicates, but it's nice when you get to schedule Arizona in the middle of the season.
Pittsburgh and the Bears, that went down exactly as I anticipated. I expect you, as I mentioned, you don't jump in front of the steaming train. You either hop on or watch it hit a stop. So I was on the Bears again. Looked a little dicey in the first half, but as I think we concluded, they tied for turnovers so that they were able to maintain their number 1 and number 2 positive turnover differential. So neither one of them benefited too much from that, but it's about all I have to say on that.
Yeah, no surprise from me either. We talked about this on the show too, so it's good. This brainstorming. The Bears had some home edges in this particular game, and I thought, and I posted this on Sunday morning, this wasn't going to be decided by Pittsburgh's offense. I really thought it was hinge on Ben Johnson versus Pittsburgh's defense, because Pittsburgh defense, their defense, they have J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt or some Watt on their team in defense, but it's not a complete defense. There are holes. It's not a top 5 defense right now. And I just thought that was the matchup that scared me about Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm still not a believer. I don't know how the Steelers do it. And let's not forget they folded like a paper napkin at the end of last year. I expect them to do the same this year. Jets and Ravens, I think we expected the same type of game that the Jets played against New England the previous week. They played them a lot closer than I think was comfortable for Baltimore through the first half, and then Baltimore was able to do some things. What I notice is that it's pretty clear Jackson is injured and a fair amount. So I don't know how that's going to come into play. He passed on running for a first down that was costly. He's missing practices. It's clearly affecting him. But here's something that I didn't realize. When we're talking about Baltimore, we were ridiculing and laughing about them defensively at the beginning of the year. Have you noticed the last 6 games, I believe, they haven't given up more than 20 points?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because you do your trailing 5. I have my sheets that, dictate exactly what's going on week by week, so I could see it visually when a team's improving. They're improving in a number of areas defensively. The one area they have not improved in, though, is pass rush. They still haven't really gotten to the quarterback to my satisfaction or to their satisfaction. So when they play tougher teams than the New York Jets, that's probably going to cost them. And they got by defensively. It was a good matchup for them. And you're right about the offense is not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, they've got problems there. But Baltimore is the number 1 gaining team over the last 5 weeks, in case you're curious.
Yeah, I would have guessed that a little bit. 2 stats about the Jets. Number 1, they still have zero defensive interceptions for the year, which is an all-time record at this time of year. So if you're not going to take away the ball, that puts a lot of pressure on your defense to stay with it, drive after drive after drive. And number 2, if you followed us, you know that I had 1 player prop over. Everybody else loves the overs. I try to play more under player props. I posted my 1 player prop over like I usually do on Sunday mornings. Cris over 2.5 catches. I think he had 4 for 75. That's a lot of yards through the air. That concerns me about Baltimore, that they're allowing that many pass yards to a running back. But anyway, Cris goes over the 2.5 reception total.
I was just making notes. The Giants and the Lions. Did you know that for as explosive offensively as Detroit has been, last year and this year and all that talent that's out there, and do you know what happened for the first time this season in that Lions game?
Nope. Tell me.
They got their first pass interference called in their favor.
Oh.
They never get. There's never pass interference called, against the Lions' opponents when they're on offense.
Wow, the Giants actually got close to a defender. That's good.
And how do you like this? The Lions only received 1 pass interference call last season.
Right.
I mean, it seems like every game. I mean, it seems like the flags are flying left and right in all these games. How the hell are the Lions only the recipients of 2 pass interference calls over 2 seasons? Isn't that nuts?
It's a little bit an anomaly, but it also speaks to something interesting. I'm just saying this off the cuff. I've seen so many teams with guys. You can even go with CeeDee Lamb, who's dropping balls left, right, and center every single week. Lions receivers generally don't drop balls. So even if there's going to be pass interference, if they catch the ball, they don't need the pass interference. Their tight end catches the ball. Gibbs is wonderful out of the backfield. We know about St. Brown. So maybe part of that is because they actually catch the ball instead of drop the ball.
That and then also they don't. Those calls are generally made with larger players, with more contact involved, and the Lions had the speedy guys running all over the place. So
yeah, that's true.
They're able to get more separation. So just an unusual little tidbit I thought I would mention. And the other interesting tidbit is if the season ended today, the Lions would not be in the playoffs. And probably deservingly so. I mean, I know we have this Jameis Winston effect, but I don't care. I got to tell you, the Giants went up, I think 10-0, and then Brown scored his touchdown, and they went into all this celebration mode. And I'm just sitting there shaking my head. And if I was a head coach, I'd be sitting there going, "What are you celebrating? You're at home losing. I mean, focus." And so that bothered me. I just really don't like to see. I just don't like to see that where the personal accolades or accomplishments take away from what the goal is as a team. And I just didn't like that. And sure enough, they struggled. They continued to struggle. And if the Giants head coach hadn't made that idiotic choice to go for it on 4th and 6, I'll bet you the Lions would have lost.
The Lions should have lost that game, but bad teams find ways to lose games. I mean, that game was not the Lions' best game. There was a Jameis Winston factor. Again, last week's show was pretty prophetic, because Jameis Winston means you bet the overs. So you bet the over in the game, and it hits. It helped my record, because my over-under record was, I don't play that many, but it was down, and it's 2-0 the last 2 weeks thanks to Jameis Winston. This is a game, as you know, I texted you right before the game. There was no reason for this line to reach 14.5, 15. There was no extra injury news. This line was so far off the power numbers, unless you thought that Jameis Winston was 4 points worse than Jackson Dart, which never entered my mind. I texted you before and said this is not the correct line.
Yeah, if I was absolutely, it's funny because I was working late Saturday night, and I honestly felt like I had all my ducks in a row and I was in great shape, and I was content. And then when the morning came, just a couple of moves kind of threw some monkey wrenches and stuff. And I could not ever, I was ahead, and I thought there was nothing I needed to do. And that turned into a final hour and a half of, I can't move fast enough to figure this out, or look at this, or look at that. And it's just amazing how fast that can change. And the Giants should have actually switched to be a play. I just realized I missed that.
Yeah. I mean, some line moves are corrections and some are not. This was not a correction. I mean, when there's a line move, the first thing I ask is, what did I miss? And if I didn't miss anything, it triggers stuff.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that I had missed it. The problem was I had the Lions and teasers down to pick, and so I would have came back on the Giants if I didn't even notice that the line had gone that high. I was focused on the other games. Yeah. So, but that would have triggered a Giants play at the last minute.
Well, you didn't read my text then.
No,
well, I think you did read it, but you just it didn't register maybe.
No, I did. It did. I need a staff of people to help me on that.
Get your secretary on it.
I mean, my wife helps me with some stuff, but I need some game day support somehow, because I'm just falling. I can't keep up with everything.
Yeah, or simplify, one of the two. That's enough for that game.
Patriots and Bengals. I had the Patriots. Disappointing. They weren't able to cover. They should have, and it ended up with them barely hanging on. So they pulled the Burrow scam on people, made you think he was coming in, and he didn't. Patriots went over season wins. That was a note I had from last week, though. But they had another key injury. I think, and I was listening to discussion that they've got no running game, and that's going to be a problem going forward.
I think part of it is their offensive line is new. The chemistry isn't quite there. They have some of the guys. Stevenson came back in limited action. Henderson is still a rookie. He's more of a one burst game breaker, not an every down. Even at Ohio State, it wasn't 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. It was 3, 3, 3, and then 33. So they don't have a consistent run game. Drake May's doing wonderful things. The sacks seem to be going down. And one of the notes of this game, which I had no interest in, is we knew Hendrickson wasn't playing for Cincinnati. We mentioned it on the show that Cincinnati wasn't going to get to Drake May, even though Drake May kind of had an off game in general. I have New England tied for 10th in my power ratings right now, 10, 11, 12 in my power ratings. Their schedule is just the second easiest schedule I've ever seen in my lifetime, and it's really paying dividends.
Oh, I think 10th is a little low.
Little low? Yeah, I have them tied for 10th. They just, their pass defense is still suspect. Their the 24 to 36 sack ratio, it just doesn't earn the respect of getting into the top 9.
Yeah, no. There's something wrong with your list. There's just no way.
I value my power ratings. They're hitting 66.666% this year.
Do you have Buffalo rated above them?
Yes.
Why?
That's the way it grades out. Buffalo. I mean, look at the way if they were on neutral ground, who do you think would be favored? I have Buffalo 2.5 over New England on neutral ground.
Yeah.
But think about that. I have Buffalo 2.5 on neutral ground, and yet Houston that line was so out of whack against Buffalo.
Well, we'll see. Seattle and Tennessee. I know you were busy in the morning, but the way that game flowed, it was going to be a matter of how much Seattle was going to win by. They blew opportunity after opportunity to just put them away, and it was just. I mean, if you didn't know any better, it just felt like the fix was in to keep the game close. And they gave up the non-covering touchdown, with, less than a minute to go, needlessly. It just infuriating game if you had Seattle.
Yeah.
They defensively didn't show up. I mean, they were like a turnstile. I don't know where their defense was. They were letting Ward go up and down the field.
But that was an anomaly game, Chris. That was we discussed this last week. I didn't play the game. I was supposed to play Tennessee, but I couldn't. That was a massively easy scheduling spot for Tennessee. They're going to be at home 6 straight weeks, counting the bye, essentially. And Seattle came off a close divisional loss at the Rams, and then they had to travel again to Tennessee. For Seattle, I thought Seattle was relatively impressive. I know people are going to say, 30-24, Seattle didn't look that good. No, Seattle did what it could under terrible scheduling circumstances.
All right.
Yeah, don't take away from Seattle for this game.
Oh, I'm not taking away from them. I just they just were sloppy.
It's not the Rams. They were all in against the Rams. Then they have to travel again. Tennessee's in their home bed forever, and they still can't get a win.
Vikings Packers. I saw very little of this game. It seems like JJ's. What was? What do I have a note here? It says. Boy, I can't read my handwriting again. It's like it's going to be in the news sheet. Okay, that's why. So J.J. McCarthy's rating, going back to, I think, 2000, is 851st out of 852 quarterbacks. Are you aware of
Pretty
that?
good. I know he's struggling, and it's funny, the world we live in. And now I was not a fan of his to begin with, but I would flip the other direction. Everybody's writing him off and saying the Vikings need a new quarterback, this, that, and whatever. We're really going to evaluate him on a 6-game sample size when Peyton Manning in his first year at Indy threw 27 or 28 interceptions or whatever it was. And all these other people, Troy Aikman won 1 game in Dallas his first year there and stuff like that. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy believer, but let's not overreact to what the season has become. He has a lot to learn.
We discussed it before the season even started, what a huge mistake it was to go with him instead of keeping Darnold. But I agree 100% with you. He's been complete, hot garbage so far. But you put completely unrealistic expectations on this guy. He didn't have the experience to step into the role that they were expecting him to step into. And he hasn't fared well. And that's okay. You don't judge him on, like you said, a half a season, especially if he hasn't been able to, be healthy. I mean, I'm not writing the guy off. I just think he wasn't ready for the situation he was put in. It was an egregious miscalculation. And it'd probably flame out in Minnesota and be like one of these other guys that are able to catch on and have success elsewhere later on. But he's going to be under this cloud for a while just because, he's in the Jamarcus Russell category of failure at this point.
Well, for the 33rd time in a row, I'll just say if Minnesota does not fire its offensive line coach, he may not get better because they started the 5 people that they actually expected to start last week, and it didn't get any better in terms of pass protection.
Well, their defense really hasn't been up to snuff either, has it?
I think people are figuring out Brian Flores a little bit. Unless you've got a rotten team, then he could do whatever he wants on you. But if you got a veteran team and if you've seen them, I think, Green Bay sees them twice a year. So that's a lot of reps that they've seen with a Brian Flores defense. And I still insist that they should have paid attention to their secondary, and they didn't. That's why the draft matters. I could read you a riot act of what's not right with Minnie, and it's fixable with a better GM and a better O-line.
Yeah, Minnesota's not even in the. Minnesota's almost. They're dead nuts, middle of the pack defensively, and that's a far cry from years past with Flores.
Yeah, they're middle. They're absolutely middle.
Yeah. Was there anything impressive about Green Bay? Did Green Bay look really good? I mean, I know they got some margin there, but they went back and forth for a while. And then when you add on McCarthy errors and stuff like that, or blunders, was Green Bay, deserving of that separation of score?
Defensively, yes. Offensively, they still need to get Jaden Reed back. Their best hands catcher there. And the offense isn't quite firing on all cylinders. They've had injuries to running backs, so the run-pass balance has been skewed. In fact, Jones didn't even play, so they had Emmanuel Wilson, who didn't care. Yards per carry was pretty poor. So they did what they needed to do against that quarterback in that game.
Okay, that's what I kind of felt out of it. I've been an Indianapolis supporter most of the season. I think the hopes were high here, especially with their defensive backfield being healthy for this game. And they were really sticking it to Kansas City early on. But I think this was a case of, and this was a day game on time, where the moment was too big for the team. I think that they kind of self-imploded and tightened up, and you just could see they were going to give the game away. And we talk about that a lot. It happens in nighttime games and stuff like that. The day games, you can kind of get away with it a little bit more because there's less pressure, so to speak. How did you see that game?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Indy mismanaged the clock the last 4 drives when I believe it was said that they went 3 and out at least 3, if not all 4 of those drives, protecting a 20-9 lead, but they protected it in a weird way by stopping the clock on pass attempts when you have Jonathan Taylor in your backfield. So, and then we've talked about it so often. If you keep going 3 and out, a guy like Mahomes is going to get in rhythm, and just like you said, you know what's going to happen at the end of that game. The only reason I had this game, Indy, is because the same text I sent to you there, I said, there's no reason why Kansas City went from 3 all the way up to 4.5 by game time. You could even maneuver a 5 at -113. The only reason to me, maybe you have a different reason, the only reason to me it went to 4.5 and 5 is because the public generally thought Kansas City needed the game, so we're going to go ahead and bet Kansas City.
No, that was a syndicate move. The way that it moved.
Really? What did they see? What did they see?
Well, when I purposely did not have Indianapolis in one contest just because I knew I was essentially taking Indianapolis because everybody was going to be on Kansas City. So a lot of people were on Kansas City. The Sharps liked Kansas City the whole time. So I guess they were just waiting for the line to bottom out. And then they came in hard on Sunday morning. And they're not always going to be right. So that, you wanted to discuss profitability betting on Sundays. Just because the line moves, it doesn't mean it's going to be the right direction. We've gone through 2 games already that was the wrong direction.
Yeah, and Indy was the right side in this game, but like you said, they didn't close.
I don't understand why the love, as a Lions fan, I don't understand that Lions love on game day either. Were those the only 2 major moves game day?
Those are the 2 moves that I said made no sense. And 2 games I wasn't going to play that I played 1-star plays on both of them because the Giants line was just so out of whack. And then this other one, all I can think of is, Casey's going to be all out to win, but Casey's 5-5 for a reason. They're allowing 7 out of every 10 passes to be completed. When you do that, even if they were winning, that makes the backdoor cover available. There were so many reasons why I thought that line was not right. But as far as other moves, Monday night San Francisco moved, but I thought that was not a move away from the power rating. For me, it was a move that made a little bit of sense.
We talked about Jacksonville a little bit. I guess we didn't mention that Brissett had the most completions again.
Yeah.
Second week in a row. I forget what the exact number was. It was like 35, I think.
I don't know. I have to check with my daughter. She has Brissett on her fantasy team.
I mean, but he's basically cleaning up against garbage defenses or garbage time. I mean, those are great stats, but they really aren't anything to jump up and down about. What do you think?
I had +3 in Arizona, but only Arizona could find a way not to cover with Trevor Lawrence throwing 19 interceptions. I mean, I actually wasn't sure I wanted Arizona to make the kick to force overtime because I was getting satisfied with the +3 tie. That's how bad it was. Arizona. I had the +7.5. I manipulated the line. I don't know if we talked about it. Atlanta, New Orleans. We haven't gotten to that game yet. So I had some win there. Jags are still +8 in turnovers, even with Lawrence's meltdown last week. I think the Jags are a fraud.
Yeah, they certainly are a fraud. I don't know how the hell they can they keep on sliding by. That's all I got on that game. The Browns and the Raiders.
Yeah.
I think we both agreed that there was no reason why Shador wouldn't have a good game. He took the first team reps. He's the first rookie quarterback to have 250-yard plus passes in his opening game. He's obviously destined for the Hall of Fame, right?
I guess so. There's certain teams, if you're going to have your first start, why not have it against a Chip Kelly coached offense? Ashton Jeanty can't, he may lack vision back there. Maybe he ran away from Mountain West defenses. Sportsbook Tommy Lozano and I, we talked about this. He was pretty bearish on Jeanty. We didn't see anything in college that warranted that he could go against this stiffer competition. I wasn't sure because we just didn't know about him. Well, so far in his sample size, he's not running away from anybody. So this was a game I completely ignored. I called for Kelly's firing. I'm not going to tell people whether or not I had a hand in his firing or not. That's up for you guys to decide. But he's just not meant for the NFL.
Yeah, and it's amazing how I saw people that were saying, well, maybe he could be the offensive coordinator over at the Eagles. Why would the Eagles want this guy?
He had him already.
Who would want this guy at this point? Isn't he
back to college? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, he's done here. I think Carroll's got to go too. He just did not change the climate in the least. The Raiders have moved to the worst team in the league for me on my ratings. How about you? They're below Tennessee.
Yeah, let me look that up. I will say this: if I had to regret preseason, knowing that I liked Denver, the Chargers, and Kansas City is Kansas City, I like Pete Carroll, but I dislike Kelly. And I don't think I place enough weight into the fact that Kelly doesn't work in the NFL. I wish I could have had that back and gone Raiders under. Where am I with Vegas? 18. I have them. It's kind of a flat-footed tie between Jacksonville, the Saints, and I know the Saints are trying, but they're just not improving their power number. Those three are my clear bottom three, and I have them in a flat-footed tie.
Well, jeez.
That was a bad home loss, though.
Atlanta and the Saints, that was something else. I don't have much to say about that game. It doesn't matter.
Well, I would say that, and I said this last week, if you just blindly bet the dog in this series, you could afford a lot of things. Whenever you can take the dog. And I kind of wanted 3 points in this game. I didn't discount Kirk Cousins, and so it could have been a power rating play for me, but I decided to kind of circle it, not counting a power rating play. But in reality, if I look back, Atlanta had tons of value. And instead of taking the +2, I think it was, one time it was 2.5, but then it was mostly 2. Now I decided I'm going to manipulate it. I'm going to take 7.5 with Arizona. So I had Atlanta +7.5 and Arizona. I just wanted some margin in this game. I was a little scared of taking less than 3 in the Atlanta-New Orleans. Once the game was played, I realized that Atlanta could go toe-to-toe with New Orleans.
I certainly expected more success out of the Saints, though. I mean, I expected Cousins to do just fine. And New Orleans was just impotent. It was just unbelievable. I had New Orleans +9 in teasers, and they couldn't cover it. Just frustrating.
I think we, including me, might have forgotten that this was.
I had them +12. I had them +12, and they couldn't cover the 12. Sorry.
Yeah. It's unusual that they wouldn't do that, but I think we all forgot that Shuck was in his second career start. And he was going against a team that has absolutely paid attention and improved their pass rush. They now have 39 defensive sacks. New Orleans, by coincidence, has allowed 39 defensive sacks. So this was a line of scrimmage mismatch for a guy in his second game. I wish I would have paid a little more attention to that.
Well, he can shuck off.
Waiting to use that line.
Boy, I'll tell you this. I don't even know what to say about the Eagles Cowboys. I assume everybody's watched that game, and what can you say?
Well, for me, I'm lucky the last 3-4 weeks that I've had. You ask me the same question usually every week. What surprised you? And I say, not much surprised me. I know there's going to be a week where I give some money back to the books where, I misjudged this and that, but I'm in a good roll right now. If anything, I thought this would be a close game, but once Philly went up 21-0, there was no way I thought Dallas would come back.
Exactly.
So that's the surprise of the week, that Philly, I don't know what happened to them. It's like their offense said, we're done.
It's we're going back to coaching. I mean, everybody in Philadelphia makes odd moves in coaching, and I just don't understand it. And you knew it was coming. You knew that when they scored that touchdown, that when they were down, when they came back from the second half, you knew if they scored the first touchdown that they would have a damn good chance of tying it up.
Absolutely.
It was basically a twofer. And sure enough, I'm just thankful as hell that somehow Dallas didn't win by more than a field goal.
Well, Dallas should have won the opening game of the season, but CeeDee Lamb had some really bad drops in that game. And the only reason this game went to Dallas, or that Philly even had a chance at 21-21, is that CeeDee Lamb had more drops in this game. I just thought at the end, oh no, Dallas is going to lose this game again because they're going to have a self-inflicted wound, when the game was on the line. But instead, Philly just never got out of its funk.
I think this Philadelphia's been just overrated as far as I'm concerned in the market for a while. And I actually have a chart I can show later. They're like the number 1 or number 2 luck team that gets luck. And that's even after this game, after they lost.
Yeah. So Chris, I agree with you completely, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm probably, we're probably going to lose that under 11.5 ticket, even though we know that we have the right side.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we got no hope.
Yeah.
Tampa and the Rams, just absolutely infuriating as a Tampa backer. They just never had a shot from the go. I think Stafford's 30-0 touchdown interception ratio since game 3. He looks clearly at the beginning of the season. I said, I don't think he's going to last the season. And he's not only lasted the season, he's a clear-cut favorite for MVP. Deservingly so. I mean, the guy is just an artist out there, just finding I can't believe the stuff he's throwing.
Yeah, he's so in rhythm, and it's coming so easy, and he's not being sacked. I think you probably thought the same way. 5 minutes into the game, we knew who was going to win this game.
Yeah. And, Baker was all banged up. You could tell. And he's a trooper. That division, it would have been interesting to see Carolina somehow get a win yesterday.
Yeah, that would have been strange, huh? I know you were only partially thrilled about the Carolina-San Francisco game. But
I'm sick and tired of shitty coaching and I don't remember earlier examples, but we were talking about a game last week where the same thing happened, and you mentioned it, where they never gave the ball to somebody.
Yeah. Right?
And you had the same thing. How do you pronounce the guy's name? Dowdle?
Yeah. Dowdle. I don't know.
The guy the ball 6 times. The guy's a beast. He's like rolling over people. He's the McCaffrey of the Panthers, and they don't use him. What the hell was that?
6 for 38. If you do simple math, which Carolina doesn't do, that would be 6.333 yards per carry. Wouldn't it have been nice to have the ball?
But you were talking about this last week about a team that you had did the exact same thing and didn't use. I forget who it was.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this. Carolina had the ball for 22 minutes and 18 seconds in that game, even though Purdy threw 3 interceptions. That's hard to do. How could you have the ball just 22 minutes? But one of the things I said a couple of things I said last week. Number one is I want to quit Bryce Young, but then he throws for 448. And then you say, okay, maybe they have something. Then he comes back in this game and he throws for 100 and whatever. He's really not the answer, but he teases you every other week.
Well, that double coverage end zone pick. I'm like, what are you doing? And then you're passing it on a 2-point conversion from the 1. I mean, come on. This is what's frustrating. You put in all the work, you figure out the handicap, you're coming up with the numbers, and it's crap like this that you just can't factor in. That just drives you nuts.
The ceiling for Bryce Young, in my opinion, is number 7 seed in any given year in the playoffs. If you have a quarterback where your ceiling is number 7 seed, you don't have a quarterback. That's my opinion. And I had some situations that I really like with San Francisco. And you were an assistant in this, whether you were willing or not. But we talked about this last week. I was looking for ways to minimize I took San Francisco minus 6.5 for a small wager, but I really wanted San Francisco at pick'em. So you were brainstorming with me different ways to get that involved. And it all worked. So I had less stress because even if they gave up the last touchdown, I was going to lose my 6.5 bet, but I was going to win all these money line stuff. So thank you.
Well, I think that was probably one of the easiest teasers for people to make was the Rams 49ers with those 2 games.
Yeah.
My numbers had the other side, and I was able to, get some Panthers within teasers, but the Tampa Bay never stood a chance, which was frustrating. You know what? It wasn't a losing week. It felt like a losing week, and that's all. I just want the bad taste of that week out of my mouth.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed it the week again, and again, it was simple. Just a handful of plays, adding 2 on Sunday morning. Got the push with Arizona on the straight bet. Happy with the push because I think there's no question. I think Arizona was the right side, but there's no question. I detest betting on Arizona.
I happen to notice there have been 8 field goals of 60 yards or plus this season already.
Yeah.
Last year there was 4 for the whole year. The year before that, 5. The year before that, 5. And you keep going back. There were years where you had 0. So the new football rule where they can nurse their balls and prepare them ahead of time has certainly made the difference. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to say that I don't like it and I like it at the same time, if that makes any sense, because there's a real artistry developing with clock management at the end of these halves and the games, because it is so much easier to get into field goal range. I mean, you really have to know how to manage your timeouts and when you're running clock and when you're not, because there is such a sliver of error allowed where you have the ball, you're in control, you're worried about how much clock you have, but wait a minute, you can't make the first down and now you got to give the ball back. So it's actually very, very interesting how it blows up in the face of one team all of a sudden that, they were the ones that, were short on time, but now they have to give it up. And now the other team can actually score again. So it is kind of intriguing.
From a strategy standpoint, there's a whole new set of variables with the kickoff rules, because if you get the ball at the 35-yard line via kickoff return or kick out of the end zone, all of a sudden you can't. The old days, if you left the team with 40 seconds and they were at their own 25-yard line, you'd feel pretty good. But nowadays, if you leave them with 40 seconds and they're at the 35-yard line, maybe they have one timeout left, maybe even 0 timeouts left. They're 25 yards away from a 57-yard field goal, which is being made at a pretty good rate, especially in dome conditions. So it's going to be made at a pretty good rate. So you've got to take into account so many more variables: site of the game, who's the quarterback, how's your defense, how much time do we want to leave? There's a lot of different things going on.
Yeah, we didn't even mention it. The way the Lions even got to overtime was on a 59-yard field goal. I mean, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They really should have lost that game.
Oh boy. I should see if I can put these on the screen. Oh. Go ahead and babble about something quickly.
All right. I'm going to babble about Sunday betting, and then we'll get into this week, because we know we have some Turkey Day games coming. I think in college, you have to get ahead of the line moves. It's hard to bet Saturday college football because that's injury driven more than anything. In colleges, there are more lines that are suspect early that you can hit on. In Circa, you can know as soon as Circa puts out the lines, you can know immediately which lines are wrong or not if you've set power ratings long enough. In the NFL, you pretty much know where the lines are going to be. There's not much movement. Straight betting. I will say this: if you want to bet totals, probably not you're going to win more if you do not wait till Sunday for totals betting. You're going to have to bet that early. Cris has been ahead of the game a lot in terms of totals. So you want to bet totals early, but the injury reports that are meaningful come out on Friday afternoon. And that's when you first get a look at who's playing and who's not, and you can adjust your matchup analysis and stuff like that. And you even see some of that happening Saturday, Sunday. It's hard. You're sometimes in a situation where you have a team that may not be at full strength if you bet it earlier. The other thing is, and I do this all the time, we mentioned this 20 minutes ago, ask this question about Sunday morning line changes. Is it a correction to your power ratings, or is it not a correction to the power ratings? If it's not a correction, it's a bettable line. If your line moves away from your power numbers for no other reason than somebody's betting it, public, syndicate, whatever, that's all right. I actually have been finding 1 or 2 games per week to bet on Sunday morning. I'm not sure if this was always the case, but I think it's really opened it up that you can make some bets on Sunday morning and get some good stuff. Now, on some lines, if your lines are off early, like the San Francisco, you want to lock that in at 6.5 before it goes to 7, before it goes to a key number. But if it's sitting on 3 and then all of a sudden the KC line goes 3, 3.5, 4, and 4.5, and there's no reason that you can think of, and it's not a correction to your power numbers, I say you can bet this on Sunday.
I mean, I think there's a time, and there's a lot of reasons to bet on Sundays, and sometimes it's going to bite you, sometimes it's not. But to claim that all the value is gone from Sunday morning lines, I don't think is true.
Yeah, that Friday injury report really sets the table. When they tell you somebody's doubtful, they say that means 75% you're not playing. It really means 95% you're not playing. So questionable is more 25, 30, 35% or whatever. You're looking for cluster stuff. and those kinds of things. All I'm trying to do is reset my matchups. As soon as the Friday numbers come out, I'm resetting, okay, who has the advantage at the line of scrimmage? Who's going to protect better or worse? What's going to happen in the backfield? Is there going to be run pass balance? Have a checklist of questions that you're asking yourself and know who's going to play. Try to think of who's going to play, who's not going to play. And even if they're going to play, like Joe Burrow is going to play this week, we have that feeling that he's going to play on Thursday night. Now we have to guess as to whether or not he's going to be 80%. Is he going to be 90%? Is he going to be 100%? We don't know. Some of these running backs come back and they're not ready to play. They're not 100%. Lamar Jackson, like you said, Cris, offensively, he's not willing to run. We saw that right out of the gate. He's not willing to run unless it's in the third quarter, 3rd and 9, close game. He has to get the first down.
I think I've got this on the screen. It's basically a luck factor of teams, and it's got Philadelphia right up there at the top, and that's even after this disastrous game that went against them. And as bad as Cincinnati's results are, they're way up at the top there. And it's Pittsburgh's top 5, which doesn't surprise us. Chicago's way up there. I think San Francisco kind of belongs up there. They seem, hard to believe they're an 8-4 team. They don't seem like an 8-4 team to me.
No.
And you look down there at the bottom, and the Jets have been covering nicely over the last few weeks. They're in deep red because they can't get any of the breaks.
Yeah. I think you have to be a little careful at the bottom of the list. I would argue part of the Jets and the Giants being in the bottom is bad coaching. Aaron Glenn remember he punted at the end of the game, 4th down from midfield and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I forget what he did. He did something so idiotic. I think I blocked it.
So I agree with the top part is meaningful. Sometimes the bottom part I would take with a grain of salt, because you have some coaches that are making decisions and you're saying, why are they being paid?
That's agreed. Well, I just thought I would throw that up there. Let's take a quick look.
Let's go to this week. Or you have something else?
Yeah, I've got AFC playoff standings.
Oh, okay.
Just I haven't really kind of looked at this, so this is my first look at it. We've got Pittsburgh and Houston and Kansas City out of the playoffs.
So my first take on this is that even though Jacksonville shouldn't be there, they're not a 7-4 team. Because of the tiebreaker situation, because they beat the Chargers and they beat the Chiefs, you have to think that they have actually a good chance to get in the playoffs because they're going to play teams like Tennessee this week.
Well, I like how this is got their. Let's take a look at this Houston again. So,
okay,
let's revisit. This is.
So Houston has 2 games left against Indianapolis. They probably have to sweep them.
Houston's drawing live. Jacksonville.
I would consider Jacksonville more in the playoffs, but I'm still weary of them winning the division.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Colts respond this week.
Yeah.
What a big game. This is a huge game for both Houston and Indianapolis.
So, yeah, because after this, Houston plays at Kansas City. So I think Houston still absolutely has to win this game.
I think Indianapolis has to win this game too.
Well, that makes it interesting.
I mean, not technically, but I mean, boy, is the pressure going to be on.
Yeah, no, if they lose this home game, they're going to go to Houston the last week of the season.
I think Kansas City comes out of this with a victory, but that Houston game isn't as easy as you would think. And then you've got the Chargers. Yeah. Boy, they get so lucky with the Raiders the last game of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, KC Houston game's interesting because remember, KC is playing on every day of the week. The NFL wants to schedule Mahomes, whatever. But in this particular case, might as well bring it up now. They'll have 10 days before hosting Houston.
I think Pittsburgh's got no shot. That not only are they out of the playoffs today, I don't see them being able to make up ground in any way possible. Do you?
Well, it's really a question of how much trust do you have in Aaron Rodgers? Is he he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but is he a Hall of Fame quarterback in 2025? Because they have Buffalo and at Baltimore coming up. Then they have to go at Detroit. And I worry more defensively with some of these games. So I think their ceiling might be 3-3. So if they got 3-3, what are they right now? 6-5?
Yeah.
9-8 won't get it.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. There's a question.
Look
in the chat.
But look at this 3-game stretch at New England, at Cleveland, and then Philadelphia. And the Jets are just no breeze anymore. The Bills all of a sudden have a tricky finish to the season.
But Bills have to play better defensively. And maybe they have to protect better. But what you want to look for with the Bills is who are they facing as far as pass rush? Because Josh Allen's going to be absolutely fine if his offensive line can protect him, and usually it does. But it had a letdown against a dynamite team last week. So, for example, Pittsburgh's pass rush is slightly above average, but Pittsburgh's going to try to rush the quarterback and wreak havoc on Buffalo. I don't know. The problem with Pittsburgh is they could do that, but unlike Houston, their pass defense isn't as solid in the back end as Houston's is.
Well, we've been spending.
I want to go to the point about the Chargers that Omar made, and that the Chargers could sneak into the playoffs, but the long-term prognosis for the Chargers, just like Omar is saying, without Alt and without their other tackle, it's just not going to be done this year. They just can't advance as far as they want. They're going to get Herbert killed this year against the better teams because they need those tackles back in the fold.
The NFC.
Well, let's talk about Detroit.
Well, yeah, let's start in the next week here because we've got Green Bay and the Lions up next.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Obviously,
somebody posted, and I couldn't find it again because my Twitter doesn't work well. They posted Taylor's stats next to Gibbs' stats, and we know Jonathan Taylor is having an amazing year, and Gibbs is right there with very similar stats, surprisingly. And as a Lions fan, I hadn't even realized it.
Well, I got to answer this question because it posted twice by City by the Bay. Question for the panel. Our first quarter bets for NFL pretty much a no-go for me. I don't know if I'll do it this year publicly, but first half, first quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, week 18 is the sweet spot for all of that, with people resting, not resting. people with bye weeks and stuff like that. There's so many unbelievable situations, City, in week 18. Prior to that, you're really, I don't like first quarter bets in particular. First half bets, you got to have teams, you know about Baltimore. They've generally been a dynamite first half team. I'm more interested in making a second half or an in-game bet against a team like Arizona that has not been able to protect leads, even Baltimore not being able to protect leads. So first half and in-game bets are situation specific, I think, depending on teams, but I don't go out of my way to play them. I don't know about you, Chris.
No, I don't, because I don't. It's
a time thing, right? It's a time thing.
Well, if you know who's going to be getting the coin toss, there's certain teams where a team likes to receive and the other one likes to defer. So if you get those two coaches matching up, but that's usually already baked into the line, and the lines makers are aware of that.
But you're giving a lot of 140s, at plus a half in the first quarter, or plus a half in the third quarter. I was thinking that in general, if you're given 140, you don't have to win 50-50. You've got to win a lot more bets than that.
I don't know whether you're aware of this, and I'm not joking, but logged into one of my accounts, and I had already heard this from a client who contacted me and showed me a screenshot. And I opened up one of my accounts, and I had the same notice that first half teasers are now available.
There was a company that used to have that. I don't remember the name of the company. I actually had that company. There were 3-point first half teases.
They have 2.5, 3, and 3.5 point teasers. And then there's also a 5-point super teaser available.
Jeez. Let's complicate matters.
I got to do a lot of research into that, because I think you would attack that in a much different way than you would a full game.
Absolutely.
But be careful on those.
I'd rather do no score first 6.5 minutes or 7.5 minutes or stuff like, or yes score. There are certain situations where a team's going to be vanilla, or some teams script their first 15. San Francisco is famous for scripting their first 15 plays.
No. I guess I got to do. I didn't do this one. I should have. I got to make this one handy. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. So I've got this. As we go through the games, I've got the playoff leverage. Shift.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, read that one up.
Thank you. So I'll leave that up while we're going through the games. We've got the revenge from game one, and as it was pointed out in the chat, Green Bay completely shut down the Lions' running game. That game wasn't even close. They just came to play and buried the Lions the first game of the season.
Yeah, that was a good spot, though. That was a good spot for Green Bay. Remember, Detroit, even your coach Campbell said they weren't ready in preseason.
No. And here's another thing. Barry Sanders has the most amount of touchdowns for a player under the age of 24 with 47 touchdowns. And Gibbs doesn't turn 24 until March, and he has 46 touchdowns. That's pretty amazing. Remember, they ridiculed the Lions. The Lions were a laughing stock for taking Gibbs in the early first round.
I don't know about laughing stock, but I thought they could have got him at pick 12, not pick 6.
Yeah.
But they wanted Witherspoon at pick 6, but Seattle shocked everybody when they took Witherspoon.
Speaking of Witherspoon, how's he been doing?
Well, Seattle's doing well, so he's a part of that.
I don't hear his name though. I mean, is he kicking butt or what?
He was hurt earlier in the year, so he's playing hurt. I think he missed a couple of games, but I don't know specifically what he's been doing lately.
So Packers go up to 92%. The Lions go up to 87%. Whoever loses this game is still over 50% to make the playoffs.
And I believe that even though they're winning the division, Chicago has the third odds for winning that division, even though Chicago's leading.
Yeah, that would make sense. I didn't mention, I actually took a flyer on Houston plus 930 to win their division just for chump change. Because they control their own destiny. If they win their games, they'll do it.
Actually, that's true, yeah.
I'll pull up the playoff information here. Yeah. These apps are just brutal. Brutal. Lions plus 149, Packers plus 145, Bears plus 280.
Pretty amazing, huh? But, turnover regression for Chicago will come at some point.
Yeah. Do you see, I'm kind of surprised. The obvious point that I bring up is it really, really says a lot that the Lions are favored by less than a field goal. Wouldn't you agree?
I set the line 2. So I'm not surprised based on my numbers.
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised by the line either, but it really says the Lions have a lot of business to take care of because you would have thought that they would, hands down be a field goal plus favorite in this situation, and they're not deserving of it.
Do you think it'll go to 3 somewhere?
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, because MGM just moved up to 3.
Yeah, it's juiced at 2.5. Yeah, there's some juice at 2.5 now.
So, it opened 3, didn't it?
I don't have the opener in front of me, but I used Monday's number of 2.5.
I think it opened 3 and got immediately bet down.
Yeah, well, that would make sense. The initial reaction, how can you make Detroit 3? They didn't look good against the Giants and all that other stuff. When it comes down, I have conflicting situations in this game. So the only thing I'm actually interested in is that I think we'll see a high scoring game.
Yeah. I think if Green Bay seems to be is going to be a very popular teaser leg.
Yeah.
Kansas City minus 3. This was 3.5, 4, and it's inched all the way down. And am I on first halves here or something? MGM just went to 2.5. How is it possible? I got to open up the account here. This can't be right. I don't have Twitter scrolling here. Is there some new news or something?
Yeah, I haven't been opening. I don't know what the news is while we're doing the show. So.
Brandon Cook signed with the Bills.
I thought he would be a great fit for the Steelers. I'm disappointed he didn't sign with the Steelers because Brandon Cooks has start-stop ability. He catches the ball, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust most of his receivers. He would be an excellent number 2 to what they have on the side with Metcalf. Steelers sat on this one. I think that was a mistake, although maybe Cooks decided he wanted to sign with any team, and the Bills, if they make the playoffs, are dangerous.
Yeah, my line service is wrong. MGM is not at 3 on Detroit, Green Bay either. What the hell's going on here?
They're dealing you double lines, Chris.
I mean, you can get, you can get the 3 for minus a quarter, but that's strange.
I know, the show with Ted is coming up sooner than we think at 2:00. But I used to say, Ted, open your account. Tell me what the line is. And his line would be different from mine on the same game, same company.
Well, yeah, they do. They'll give different people different lines, but I don't think the U.S. regulated shops do that. Well, now the line service was screwed up.
It used to be so comical. I said, Ted, bet this one for me, because I can't get the same line as you. Props too. They had different numbers on props.
So Kansas City basically dominated as far as I'm concerned. That was a big comeback for Dallas. I think that this is a flat spot.
Standalone game, do you think it's a flat spot?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I mean, not as much of one, Dallas has a long.
I mean, they're not in the playoffs by any means. What are they, 5-5-1? So
Dallas?
Yeah.
They are 5-5-1.
Yeah, so they can't take a week off.
They can't take a week off. The injury reports are not that concerning for either of these teams.
No.
You got any words of wisdom on this?
No, at this point, I have no edge.
Okay. I think Dallas is going to get brought down to earth, frankly. Cincinnati,
their defense will be.
What do you make this Cincinnati-Baltimore line, considering all the wild cards involved with Burrow probably going, but he doesn't play defense, so somehow Cincinnati was able to have a defense last week. So is that going to happen again?
I didn't set a line on this game because of all the uncertainty. I didn't know whether Hendrickson would play. I don't think he is. It looks like Burrow's going to play. I don't know how many points that's worth because he doesn't play defense, like you said. Baltimore tends to do well at home in the series, but not against the point spread. So it brings up the fact that even recently, Baltimore wins this kind of game. It's probably a teaser delight. Well, maybe it won't be because people will be enamored with Joe Burrow. So I don't know. I think there's so many variables. I don't feel comfortable that my line would be the right line to set.
If the line stays where it is, the Baltimore's in a spot that is 43-3 last 46 times, but the line can't get any lower than it is.
Where is it now? 6.5?
No, 7.
7. Okay. Yeah, I think 6.5 is too low personally, just from the eye test, but I also self-check a lot, and lines makers do this for a living. I'm not going to get every line right. Most of the time, it's going to be 50-50, 49-51 that my line is going to be closer than what the line is actually set. So that's why I defer to the lines makers for this. But personally, I would have set it over 7.
Well, wasn't New England 7.5?
Against Cincy?
In Cincy?
Yeah, in Cincy.
So are they trying to? Who's the better team, New England or Baltimore?
Well, Baltimore's a better team. They have the better players.
The line be lower than it was against New England. Oh, I guess Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, everything is hinging on how many points do you give Joe Burrow. And I always say it's situation specific. If Joe Burrow is going against Arizona and Joe Flacco is going against Arizona, there's not much difference. If they're going against Houston, I'd rather have Joe Flacco. I mean, I'd rather have Joe Burrow. Joe or Joe?
Well, just your average Joe will be in the lineup.
Yeah. Too many variables for me.
So the Bears are 8-3 and have a negative point differential of -3. How is that possible?
That's that luck factor. Plus 16 turnovers.
Well,
Every turnover, 3.5 points. So you know what that's worth. That's 56 extra points.
what are the Eagles' turnover differential?
+6. The other stat to know, because Caleb Williams is not that accurate, is that Philly is number 1 in the league in terms of allowing completion percentage, 57%. And that's after playing Dak.
Can you repeat that?
Philly is number 1 in the league in pass defense percentage. Caleb Williams is in the bottom tier in accuracy.
Well, this Bears defense is a problem. How bad are they on your sheet?
The Bears defense? If not for the turnovers, they'd be something like 28th.
Well, with the turnovers, are 27th on mine.
Yeah, it's not good. The Bears have to run in this game. This matchup at first glance, I know it's only Tuesday. This matchup favors Philly.
It favors Philly?
Yeah. At flat turnovers?
Wow, the Bears with a victory go to 82%. And even with a loss, they've got more than a 50% shot of going to the playoffs.
They have 3 games left in the division. 2 against Green Bay and 1 against Detroit. Unfortunately for them, they don't play Minnesota anymore.
Well, we could really use a Bears win for our Philadelphia season wins.
What would happen? What is Chicago's yes/no to make the playoffs?
Where would you put it? Where do you put it?
Where I would put it?
Yeah.
Yes, minus 140.
Minus 180. You can get plus 155.
Yeah. If they lose, that's going to take a tumble if they lose this game.
Yeah.
Season win total for them.
I was just checking. I should have looked at the AFC earlier.
I got it here. 10.5. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to research that. So they're 8-3. So they have 6 games left. They have to go 3-3 to get to 11.
Well, there's, I can't read this. I know you can. Can you read that?
No, because I'm far away from my thing, so I can't read it. But
so the Bears play.
Omar says they're going to get 3 more.
The Bears play at Philadelphia, at Green Bay.
A lot of people say that.
Cleveland.
Cleveland's a win.
At Green Bay, or at home against Green Bay.
Yeah.
At San Francisco, and at home Detroit. I think they're going to be very lucky to get 3.
Detroit will have 3 extra days before that game.
And they're going to need to win it too.
Yeah, I think that will probably be the deciding game. If you think they're going to split it, if you think they're going to lose to Philly, beat Cleveland, split against Green Bay, that would be 2-2. They'd have to go 0-2 at San Francisco and home to Detroit. Right now, boy, my power rating for Chicago, 4, 5. It's not that high.
It's not?
Tie 16.
Boy, my power rating for Chicago's not that high either.
Yeah, I just looked at that. Tie 16.
14 for me.
So in both cases, because we started the show looking at whose power rating? Indianapolis power rating. So Indy's ahead of Chicago.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm tie 16. So I have a middle of the pack, and their schedule is heating up.
I still think 7 is too many.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to weigh favorites, even though I'm having a good year weighing favorites. But the only side I'm going to be looking at would be Philly. It's a Friday game, by the way.
That's a good Friday to have one.
You're in the wrong month, but okay.
Oh, okay.
Where do you think that line goes?
I think it goes south.
South.
And this line has been goofy. Again, I've been completely tied up. I believe that the Indianapolis line opened at like 5.5 or 5 and came down to 3.5, and now it's back up to 4.5, 5.
So we don't know. Do we know who Houston's going to use at quarterback?
Does it matter?
I would add a point for Stroud.
Does it matter to you whether you bet the game?
Oh, Stroud versus that's a better question, actually. Against this defense, maybe a little, because Stroud is a little bit more maneuverable. I don't think Mills he just can't move in the pocket.
Yeah, but Indianapolis isn't going to apply enough pressure on Mills.
33 sacks for the year.
Well, Indianapolis is going to apply pressure on Mills.
Yeah, matchup specific, healthy Stroud, I would give 1 point edge to Mills. And that's low. I mean, if you asked anybody 4 weeks ago, you would have said Stroud's worth 2.5, 3 points.
Yeah. As it's pointed out in our chat, Mills is 3-0, and not only is it 3-0, I saw somebody post some, like, the pace of his stats are very impressive.
69. He's barely hitting over 60%. And I look at that. 60% is Trevor Lawrence area. Trevor Lawrence isn't even hitting 60. You have to hit 60.
Yeah, he is if you count opposing players.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence hits a lot better percentage that way. I should count that. It would make for his stats to go up.
You got any edge on this game?
I like the extra 3 days for Houston. I think it's going to be Stroud, which creates volatility. I thought the line was a little high. I didn't set a line again in this game. There are 4 games I didn't set lines on, and this was one of them.
This one's going to be just an aggravation for me. I like both of these teams, but I also think Indianapolis cracked under pressure, and we have to see how they rebound from that.
Mhm. I mean, Daniel Jones has a ceiling. I mean, I guess it was a high ceiling early in the year, but at some point, he's Daniel Jones.
Arizona, Tampa Bay.
Yeah. I didn't set a line here either. We don't know about Baker.
Yeah, who cares?
That's
I will make one comment though.
okay.
Tampa Bay at one point in this season, we were talking possible Super Bowl berth. They were looking very strong defensively. They've completely folded like cheap napkins. The offense, they got, Baker's dinged up. I don't know. I certainly don't feel, it feels like they're back where they started with expectations. And maybe not even that high at this point after the last game we saw.
Well, Atlanta should be better than their 4-7 record, but their coaching, you've mentioned it even more than I have. Their coaching is really bad. And then you got Carolina, and they have Bryce Young, and they're good sometimes, bad some other times, and stuff like that. So Tampa is hurt. Tampa's had some bad injuries, and it doesn't help them if Baker Mayfield's less than 100% too. So they're lucky they're in the division they're in.
Jacksonville and the Titans.
Yeah, I'd love to see a Jacksonville loss, but again, the Titans, they haven't left their home for 5 weeks, and they haven't got a win in 5 weeks either.
I'm not saying the numbers don't support it, but who the hell is Jacksonville to be laying 6.5 on the road to anybody?
Yeah. I do have a situation not favoring Tennessee, but heavily against Jacksonville. The line I have is correct, just like you said.
Right.
We understand that it's Tennessee. They're a bottom feeder. So by all metrics, the line is correct, but it's so hard to lay with Jacksonville when you know that their record could be 4-7.
Oh. I'm having a real problem with some of these lines last week and this week where you just look at them and say, this is insane.
Yeah, I mean, look at the next game, the Rams and Carolina. The Rams are laying double digits on the road, but Carolina, not used to playing on Monday Night Football, has a short week, and they're going against a formidable defense. People are going to be teasing the Rams.
And it's not even an inflated line. I mean, you can't disagree with the line.
Yeah, I said it at 10.5. Not inflated. Maybe it becomes inflated, but it's not right now.
Miami and New Orleans, please keep me off this game.
Let me see if I can keep you off this game. Yeah, the tough part is I have some minor situations, but more than one, more than two, that favor New Orleans. I have not done the matchup analysis for this game. The schedule makers have made this a Miami benefit for Miami because Miami's had a bye. They've won before, so they're in good spirits. New Orleans is not on the bye, obviously. And, they lost another home game and they know they're already eliminated and so on.
I just hope the line doesn't go up. If the line goes up, I'd have to be on New Orleans. Ugh.
We're at 6 right now.
Yeah.
I would have to take 7.
Well,
that's not liking it.
No. Falcons and the Jets. My gosh.
On my number. Do you think we talk about turnover regression one way, but what about the other way? The Jets are -13 in turnover differential. What if they got flat all of a sudden and had an even turnover ratio game?
It's funny because do you ever look at these games before you see the lines or your model and sit there and go, well, I guess the line should be this?
Now, I set lines before I look.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I never look at a line until I've set the line.
Without looking at your paperwork.
Without looking at, no, I set the line looking at my paperwork.
Yeah, that's entirely different.
Okay. And
I mean, where would see a handful of these games? You look at them, and without looking at your numbers, I'm just miles apart. Like, would you have had Atlanta favored in this game without looking at your model?
Yeah, I would have had Atlanta favored. But I understand your reasoning, because there are games like that, especially in the college, where if I just look blind, and sometimes I'm going to look blindly at a MAC line or a Sunbelt line where I don't have team sheets and stuff. And I'm saying, wow, that seems weird. That number is 15. I didn't know these teams were that far apart. And then I'd have to look at my power numbers after that.
Where do you have the Jets in your ratings?
29.
How can you have them 29?
Where should they be? Third?
No.
How can I have them 29? 19 to 39 sack ratio, absolutely zero quarterback effectiveness, a little bit above average pass D, average run D, point differential is below average, of course, partly due to the turnovers.
You think there's only 3 teams worse than the Jets in the league?
According to my numbers, yes.
Okay.
They have a chance to fix that this week. I mean, who do you have the Giants lower than them?
No. We know the Titans and the Raiders unquestionably are worse.
And the Saints.
Those
are the 3. So who else is above them or should be below them? 10. No, we talked about that.
What the hell did do?
I have Washington as 28th.
Yeah, I had the Jets higher than Washington.
So I have one spot at difference.
I had the Jets higher than Miami.
I have Miami 26, I believe.
I had the Jets higher than Cleveland.
I have 25th.
I have the Jets higher than Carolina.
I have Carolina 27th. So it's all those next teams. We have everything exactly in line except for the Jets.
You know what? I just think that I don't know.
Remember, they're a team without Sauce Gardner now. They're without Q Williams on the defensive line. Talent-wise, talent-wise, I knocked them down a point. So if I put them back up, I see where you are with the model and stuff. But I intentionally knocked them down a point for losing Gardner and Q Williams. That's our difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Good to talk it through, though.
Yeah, it's and it's also easy to you could have a cluster of 5, 6, 7 teams that are so close that it's very easy to flip-flop from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Atlanta favored, but not by. I have them basically pick them. If I get a 3, I'll be on the Jets.
I have to do the matchup analysis, but I'm strongly hoping not to be involved in this game.
San Francisco and Cleveland. Boy, what an interesting game with the 49ers off the short week. And the the whole debacle going on with the Browns and Shador.
Weather might be a factor. Some snow flurries.
Yeah, 15-mile-an-hour winds. But traditionally, you always look under in these games, but Sanders kind of throws a little monkey wrench into being able to auto bet it under for some reason, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, because we don't have enough tape on him.
I mean, I think offensively and defensively, he can be responsible for points getting on that board fast.
Yeah. My first glance is, again, I can find other games.
Minnesota at Seattle, we got a big fat 10.5. Is that line right?
It's high if McCarthy plays. If Brosner plays, then any line could be set. You could set 13 and we wouldn't even know, because he doesn't have NFL experience and he's going into Seattle and he's going into the teeth of that defense.
This is they're completely out of the playoffs at 4-7. Jefferson is like seeing the highest snap counts as any receiver, and performance is not there. We've seen him mentally off on games. There's a lot of disarray with this team. I mean, is there going to be a quit point, or we already reached it?
Well, I don't know. For the high paying guys like Jefferson, there could be a quit point, but for everybody else, they're playing for their jobs. I like Jerry Bett's comment. Anybody with a pulse, essentially, would be there, but that's a tough place to play. It's one thing for Shador Sanders to get his first start against the Raiders. It's another thing for a Minnesota quarterback with that offensive line, which isn't very good, to get his first start at Seattle.
So we'll get a full effort from Seattle after that nasty game in Tennessee. What do you think?
Yeah, you have to give a full effort for two reasons. Number one, they're not in first place in a loaded division. And number two, Sam Darnold played for Minnesota last year.
Ooh. Okay. We hadn't looked at this playoff leverage. Well, the Vikings can go up to 4% chance to win this game.
Yeah. I put all my money on it. You want to save the rest for our stuff with Ted, or what
time do we have?
We need to take a short break and then come back with Ted, maybe. Everybody come back with Ted.
I've got, what do we got? I don't have much to say about these final games, but other than Buffalo-Pittsburgh, is there anything what do you expect out of that?
Out of Buffalo-Pittsburgh? I actually have a negative indicator for Pittsburgh in this game. So
I expect Buffalo to rebound. What do you think about the head coaching situation at this point, though?
If they miss the playoffs, there could be a change made. But it depends, because Josh Allen would have some say in that, I would think, as the marquee quarterback. And if he adamantly stands in McDermott's court, then there won't be a change.
All right. We'll get you a break. Ted's show's coming on next at the top of the hour.
Call it 2:05. I want a little bit of a break. I'm going to text Ted. 10 minutes from now, we'll be back to discuss even more and Ted's interviews.
I'm unsure if I'm going to be able to join. I have some non-sports related issues to deal with, and I don't know the severity or problems that have developed on them. So 50-50, I'll make this.
Okay, check my feed so you can get the link if you don't have it already. We'll see you in a few minutes. Bye.
Bye.